Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co-host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to your favorite podcast. What is the name of the show again? Q Points. Dropping the needle on Black music history. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
What's happening, y'all? My name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's going on, folks?
Listen, it happens.
It does happen.
To the best of us. It's just been a long day. But Jay Ray, my friend, how you feeling this evening?
I am feeling really excited to have this conversation about Patrice Rushen. It has been an amazing day, an amazing week. How are you?
I am fantastic. Despite my little brain fart right there, I had a great day. I'm rested, and I too am ready to talk about Patrice Rushen, Shaka Khan, just a whole bunch of things to talk about this evening. But first and foremost, J Ray, please let the people know how they can keep in contact with us and get all this goodness whenever they want.
Absolutely. First of all, shout out to everybody who is joining us. We see that folks are popping in. So if you're joining us for the live show, we appreciate you. We love you. And so for those folks that want to stay up with Q Points, if you are wanting to support Q Points and become a Q Points insider, you can do that by visiting our website. If you go to qpoints.com and you click on the subscribe button, you can get access to all things Q Points. That includes our pop culture recap show and hot mess show called However Comma, as well as any behind the scenes stuff that we do and the entire archive of Q Points shows. Quick note, this is our 90th show.
Wow, we are 10 shows shy of 100.
10 shows. We are okay. Here's a fact that I learned today. We are turning 100 the day before we first went live the first time. So we went live on May 12th the first time. We turned 100 on May 11th. Isn't that crazy?
We couldn't have planned it any better.
Yeah,
it's kismet.
It's kismet. So that means there are 78 shows available for you to watch in the archive. All types of goodies. So you should subscribe. Join our newsletter. If you go to qpnt.net/newsletter, or just click on magazine.qpoints.com. You can join the newsletter. And if you want to leave us a tip, you could do so by just leaving us a tip. We'll put the link in the description for folks. Also, a thing that you can do is you could buy merch. So shout out to Marcus and Mel on the left. You can follow him at I am Marcus and Mel on Instagram, and Mr. Al Pete on the right. You can follow him at Mr. Al Pete online. Shout out to both of them. We had Stop Tweeting, Start Rapping sightings, and want to shout them out.
Those brothers look sharp. Brothers look sharp.
You know what I'm saying?
Not for nothing. Maybe it is because of the hoodies, the Stop Tweeting, Start Rapping hoodies, but they look especially sharp in these pictures right here, J Ray.
Absolutely,
and you can too for the low price of. I'm just
you can get it. So if you go to our store, so at the website as well, if you go to qpoints.com and click on store, you too can get yourself a Stop Tweeting, Start Rapping shirt. And shout out to Wani, who said, the interview with Kipper Jones was one of my favorite shows. I definitely have to go back. Shout out to the Kipper Jones. I know that we talked about
Yes.
him on However Comma, but he had an amazing performance this past Sunday. And just want to shout him out. He out here doing big things, the Kipper.
Absolutely, absolutely. We about to do big things next week. You know, you got your gear ready. Did you get your tuxedo and whatnot?
Oh my God, that would be hilarious if I
No.
wore a tuxedo. No, I'm not wearing that. We are
No.
headed to Vegas.
No.
Sir Daniel and I are hopping on planes, trains, and automobiles, and we are headed to Vegas for the Ambies. So we will be in the spot. Q Points is nominated for Best Entertainment Podcast at the Ambies. We're super excited. It's because of all of y'all too supporting the show that we're able to do that. So I don't have my stuff yet, but I'm gonna get my stuff. You got your stuff yet?
There's like one thing that I'm gonna go look for, but other than that, I'm pulling out a number out of my closet because that's just how I roll. You know, we're gonna try and look fly. Now, when the time comes and we get budgets for stylists and all that, then you really gonna see us step out. Like
Yes.
it's gonna be a problem. It's definitely gonna be a problem. But J Ray, we need to also acknowledge and give a rest in peace to Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, please tell the everybody who Wayne Shorter was and all his greatness.
Yeah, so Wayne Shorter, saxophone player, but that does not describe him. So Wayne Shorter is one of the most important musicians in Black music history. He was there for so many incredibly important moments. So I first came, including this moment back here. He co-produced this album for the Weather Report called Black Market. Is one of my favorite albums of all time. And he co-produced and he plays on that record. And he played with the Weather Report through their entire duration. But I came to know the work of Wayne Shorter through Miles Davis. So through Miles's rock period, the Bitches Brew period, Wayne Shorter was part of his band, who had been part of his band for years and was right there by Miles's side, and just a tremendous musician. In fact, we're talking about Patrice Rushen tonight. Patrice. Exactly. And Patrice played for Wayne Shorter, most famously on Live from Montreux '88, which was him and Carlos Santana. And Patrice Rushen was the keyboardist. She was part of the band for that show in '88. And so Wayne Shorter is a giant and has done so much for us. And we absolutely want to send rest in peace to his family and his friends.
Absolutely. Here on Q Points, like I think I had to say this last week, J Ray. Here on Q Points, we revere people like Wayne Shorter. We revere people, the musicians who have, put their all into this culture that America celebrates, right? And the world celebrates. And I really am in my feelings again about what I feel like is a predatory interview, and it's a predatory, it's just predatory. This is what it's a predatory kind of phenomenon where these interview shows are popping up and they're getting access to many of our legends and are prodding them and leading them into making these statements about their contemporaries or people that come up behind them, and then they chop it up, and of course they get their clickbait and they get their headlines to help promote their show. And Shaka Khan most recently is the latest to be used in that fashion. She did a podcast interview and was relayed a story about her history with Mary J. Blige and the song Sweet Thing, which is no secret to us. Shaka has never shied away from sharing her feelings about you know, how that Mary's interpretation of that song.
She wasn't with it.
And
She's told Mary that.
she that's the point, and she's told Mary that. So now what's happening is we have a whole generation of young people who are clueless and who are being fed all this misinformation, or at least being misled to believe that Shaka Khan is this tyrant of a woman who is just an awful person, who is just not nice and will tear everybody to shreds. You know, there's also, you know, she responded to the Rolling Stone list of the greatest singers. I mean, everybody had their opinion about that list. Everybody, all of us had our opinions about that list and who was on there. Why wouldn't Shaka Khan, Shaka the Khan,
Shaka the Khan,
one of the biggest voices of our lifetime, whose voice is compared to an instrument, why wouldn't she have an opinion about that list? She never said she didn't like Mariah Carey. She just had a problem with where she was placed. That's all.
Yeah.
But it's not even the content itself. I just feel like, again, nobody is looking out for our artists that are older. I think the only platform so far that has handled a legend, one of our OGs, in the most delicate of ways, surprisingly enough, is Nori and the Drink Champs when they had Patti LaBelle on.
When they had Patti LaBelle on.
It was a sweet and endearing interview.
Yeah.
She was very sweet and endearing with them, and it wasn't a whole bunch of cutting down. Even when Patti had the opportunity to talk about her relationship with Aretha Franklin, you know, everybody had their teacups ready, expecting her to just, you know, lash out. But they allowed her to speak. And then again, Patti is a pro. So we're not, you know, Patti, and genuinely felt that way about Aretha, and really did love Aretha, and squashed it and was like, nah, there ain't no beef. There was never any beef. Aretha and I would talk a lot. We were supposed to do a song together.
Right.
So I just think that as wild and as crazy as Nori is, and as inebriated as he might get on the show and whatnot, him and FNF, they handled Patti LaBelle the way she should have been handled and respected on that show. I personally just feel like there's just like a disrespect of the culture. It feels disrespectful to me, and it feels personal.
Yeah. I agree with that. I want to bring in Mark's comment. Mark McPherson says Shaka Khan said in the interview that her and Mary have a friendship where they can talk to each other that way. I think a lot of people miss that context. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Mark, because I think that's really important. I will say, I don't want to dismiss the show, anybody's show. Like, I don't want to, everybody has their own style. Everybody has a thing that they do and a way that they do it. I was like, this is Shaka Khan, who's celebrating 50 years in the music business. I think we have more important things to talk about. And Shaka, in that interview, wanted to talk about racism in the music industry. She was like, no, I want to talk about how, you know, I understand why artists end up getting high and they end up checking out early because they're being taken advantage of. I understand how artists can feel, how Sly Stone feels because of what the industry did for him. She wanted to, and she called it what it was. The host wasn't able to pick that up though. I wanted, there are other shows that could have picked up what she was putting down to say,
like Q Points,
that could have said, okay, let's go here. Let's talk about how the industry has been predatory towards Black folks and has really damaged a whole generation of people, right? And what are the solutions? I feel like there was a missed opportunity in that. And it's so crazy that the thing that the other media outlets are picking up on is crazy conversation about dissing Adele and dissing Mariah Carey. She literally said that the problem was racism in the music industry. way before she even got to that part. So we're going to ignore that part, which was a very important conversation to have. The headline should be Shaka Khan speaks on racism in the music industry and how it has destroyed and damaged artists. Meanwhile, the headline is Shaka Khan disses Mariah Carey and Adele.
Listen, guys, put on your kufis. Everybody open up your third eye. Shaka Khan was trying to school us at the end of Black History Month. And here you are. Here y'all go. The lambs being misled. Look at you. Open your eyes. Open your third eyes, y'all. Open your third eyes. Because real eyes realize real lies. You get what I'm saying?
I haven't heard that in so long.
I had to pull that one out. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
It is a missed opportunity, and I think what I challenge us to continue to do at Q Points and other podcasters, it's the deep listening. It's let's have the conversations that need to be had. And I feel like that was a missed opportunity. I feel like that podcast could have helped to shift the narrative for folks, and it kind of missed it by taking kind of a surface level approach to the conversation. That's all I want to say.
And I think it's intentional. You're right. Because those clicks and, headlines, they're getting exactly what they wanted. But anyway, moving on, speaking of, salacious news and, celebrity news.
Yeah.
No, we're not turning into your favorite, TMZ, like, what is it called? Tabloid news shows. We gotta, things happen in the culture, and we see it, and we have feelings about certain things too. J. Ray, you saw Michael B. Jordan on the red carpet and his encounter with L'Oreal, and everybody's making a big deal about it. Some people are having serious reflections about it, and you actually did a response to it and posted it today.
Yeah.
And so let's just, what were your feelings towards that particular incident and that moment of humanity, of humanness that Michael B. Jordan was having?
I think you said exactly what it was. I reflected on it because what I saw in that moment was a person being human, right? Knowing that at some point in his life experience, this person was part of a harm that was caused. In terms of the teasing, right? When he was in high school. And being able to be like, that happens. So I reflected on a time in high school when I was teased, and my thought was, I don't know what would happen if I saw those folks today. Like, if we're in Vegas and we do the red carpet and one of the interviewers is one of those dudes that teased me when I was in 9th grade, I know my 13 or 14-year-old self is going to show up. Now, I hope I've done enough work that I can put him where he needs to be, but I don't know. Because it ain't never happened yet, right? So right. I think you always say, and I said this in the video, Sir Daniel, you always say grace and space. Like, I feel like this is one of those moments where folks didn't just arrive, woke and with therapy and fully healed. We're all on a life journey. At that moment, Michael B. Jordan is like, I'm upset still. I'm not over. Here you are, and I'm not over the thing that happened to me. And that's fair. That's really fair. And I thought that was it's vulnerable fair to even say, because the shadow, the mask will say, don't say anything.
Yeah. I don't particularly I don't particularly think there was anything wrong with Michael's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I could see, I did see the energy. I could see his face got tight when he saw who it was. When I saw that eyebrow raise and that mouth get tight, I was like, oh yeah, that something just came back.
Yep.
Something he just relived something right then and there, and it just let me know that all of us still have healing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and we just don't know how that's going to show up. So sometimes that's why, like you said, I always preach grace and space, but not necessarily for other people, but for yourself.
Yes.
Because if you give yourself that grace and space, you'll allow yourself to time to recognize, oh yeah, that did hurt. That's
Mm-hmm.
still kind of, and I carried that around with me because apparently when he was in high school, he used to come to school with, his headshots.
Yep.
And apparently this was something that he wanted for a very long time. As a matter of fact, he was in high school when he started getting roles. If I
Mm-hmm.
remember, he was on a daytime soap opera while he was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's something he worked hard for. And, unfortunately, when you're in the community, we like to, whenever somebody is doing something different or whenever somebody achieves some type of accolade, sometimes it's like second nature that we're going to do something to kind of take them down a
So,
notch
right.
because our ego won't allow us to revel in their accomplishments and congratulate them. Because we feel like we need to bring you down a notch just to remind you of who you are and where you're from,
Mm.
and don't think you're not better than us, you're not better than me.
Yeah.
And so those things happen. That's why we play the dozens. That's why we
Mm-hmm.
hike, we bid, whatever it is you call it in your neck of the woods. You jonin, all those
Mm-hmm.
things. That's why we do those practices. And um, Dr. Ed, our good friend Dr. Ed is constantly talking about, especially Black men having these healing moments so that they stop these cycles
Mm-hmm.
because of the trauma responses that we had coming up, the defense mechanisms that we had. And speaking of devil, look who popped up in the chat. Dr. Ed. That is hilarious. That is
I love it.
what's up, Dr. A. But yeah, we just yeah, those are just trauma responses that a lot of us are having. We just saw it in real time with Michael B. Jordan. That's it.
Yep.
All what we need to be concerned about, and it's a bit, sometimes it feels like a big ask for us as a community, but it's to start practicing real empathy with each other
Mm-hmm.
and learn how to recognize those things. But I know that's a big reach for a lot of us, and because some of us don't even speak that language just yet. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, we'll all come to it at some point. I think what my mother has always told me growing up, the West Indians was the Guyanese people will always say, "Wait, boy, you'll come,"
Mm-hmm.
and that just basically means keep living. What you see me experiencing, you're gonna experience it yourself at some
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And so talking about this idea of experience and life, I think this artist that we're about to embark on this
Woo!
conversation about is truly a larger than life figure. And I'm so grateful that we on Women's History Month at the day second
The
day,
top.
the top of the month, that we have chosen this artist to open the month, and her name is Patrice Rushen. And there are going
It's
to be,
like,
I was going to say, there are going to be folks who watch this who might be like, I know, forget me nots, but that's it. This is going
but
to be a
J Ray,
little more than that.
tell them what you told me before we got on. How many followers does Patrice Rushen have?
So on Facebook, this was nuts to me. Patrice Rushen only has like 2,500 followers on Facebook.
And that's wild to me. That's wild to me because, and J Ray is gonna, break it down in a second, but you have Miles Davis,
Mhm.
you've got Quincy Jones, you've got Ray Chu,
Mm-hmm.
and you got Chucky Booker,
Mm-hmm.
and right standing right next to them in her demure frame is Patrice Rushen,
Mm-hmm.
standing on 10 toes right next to those giants, standing just as tall is Patrice Rushen. And I think we just need to, the fact that more people don't know who she is, I think is a testament to what Q Points is doing,
Mm-hmm.
is attempting to do, is to give this backstory on these people and to make people aware that that joint you singing right now, yeah, she did that. You know that show, that award show you were just watching, yeah, she did that. But no, go ahead, J Ray, tell us a quick history of Patrice Rushen and who she is. Patrice Louise Rushen.
Boom.
That's a black ass name. That's a,
It is a black
a
ass
blacky black
name.
name.
Yo, so
Patrice
this
Louise.
right. So Patrice Rushen, as in a real high level, Patrice Rushen is from Los Angeles, born and raised in Los Angeles, and started playing piano at 5. So her parents were really big on education, and but they were not like, they was just black parents that were big on education and saw a talent in Patrice, and so she started to play piano and continued to play piano, but also picked up other instruments along the way, right? So by the time Patrice got to high school, um she showed up already able to arrange music. So one of the things that I don't know if it was the band director, but I remember hearing or reading was that she was a huge asset to their department because she was this student that could take modern songs and arrange them for the band, because she was playing in the band, in the marching band. And they was like, we didn't have to change much. Like, Patrice had a really good ear to be able to rearrange things to make it appropriate for the band. And that was kind of the thing. So she moved from being just this instrumentalist to an arranger, right? So by the time she's 20 years old, she had already gotten the ear of jazz musicians and wanted to pursue it. And she signed a deal and did 3 jazz albums. Starting from 20, so this was in the early 70s, so this is like 74. And eventually transitioned into R&B music, but throughout that entire time she was either producing or co-producing all of the music. She of course was co-writing the lyrics. She was working on arrangements. She's a multi-instrumentalist, so she was regularly singing, playing the keys, playing the drums, all of that. So she did all of that stuff, right, for all of these albums. And it's just this phenomenon of kind of a one woman show, but not just alone. She's a jazz artist, so she didn't do anything alone. She always had a really good, solid group of people with her. But the beautiful thing was there wasn't a lot of black women. That's the thing, I think, the key. And we're going to talk about this. She was doing this shit when there were not black women doing this. And she was committed to doing it her way. So that's my super high level history of Patrice Rushen.
Absolutely. And as Dr. Ed says in the mentioned in the chat, yeah, she was also part of Robert Townsend's Partners in Crime.
Yep.
Which, again, so we're talking about not only her being in the jazz circles, right? And the musician world, but now she's pulled into television because and to creating these comedy specials for HBO.
Yep.
For all these major channels. And that's, like you said, there were not a lot of black women in those arenas at the time. because you had, I could have sworn at one point, and I'm clearly she wasn't, but I could have sworn that Patrice, there was a black woman, but on the Arsenio Hall show, but I don't, but it was not.
It,
I don't know who I'm thinking of. There was a black woman that plays drums,
yeah, there was a musician.
a musician that
One
played
of the
drums.
musicians on the Arsenio House show, I thought it might have been the drummer or a horn player or both. But I do think there was some folks in the band. She may have sat
Yeah.
in as musical director. Because who was the musical director for the Arsenio Hall show? Oh, I'm gonna forget his name. Oh my God, I forgot his name.
Let's look it up. I'll
And
look
yeah,
it
let's
up
look
real
it up.
quick.
And they reminisce of you, of course, aren't on because they did an Arsenio Hall show. Oh, Terry Lynn Carrington is the person that you're referring to that Dr. Ed said it was Terry Lynn Carrington.
Gotcha.
But yeah, during that period of time, there was not women doing this. So okay, so when even thinking
Robin
of
DiMaggio.
Robin DiMaggio, yes, that's who. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
During this interesting period of time in the 1970s, Patrice has done these 3 jazz albums, and I think it was Precise Records, and was being courted by Elektra. So here's what's interesting. Elektra Records becomes this really important label that brings black music to the fore. But when they signed Patrice, that wasn't true. She signed with them because they were trying to build up black music, but they didn't want to do R&B. So they wanted to do something else. And Patrice Rushen was like an example of something else that they wanted to do. So she leaves jazz and doesn't really leave jazz. Let me say that incorrectly. She tweaks her jazz formula to fit into an R&B formula. But here's what's interesting, and I wanted to talk about this for a quick second. Yo, the jazz folks was not happy with Homegirl. They apparently the jazz folks at the time were calling her a sellout.
The jazz community is they're very particular.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz, like, especially since, we are still talking about 50 years of hip hop. It took a long time before the jazz community, especially, and when I think of the jazz community, I automatically think of the Marcellus, the Marcellus dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And they were quite vocal about hip hop in the beginning as well.
Yeah.
But then finally, maybe after 20 years, maybe, there was some acceptance from the jazz community, but that doesn't surprise me at all that they were, because they know that she is a student of jazz and played along with the greats like Miles Davis and whatnot. They were probably like, what are you doing? What are you doing playing with all that R&B riffraff? What are you doing over there?
Not the R&B riffraff. and I, you know what? It's interesting that we're having this conversation because I think that feeling tracks to early hip hop. Remember, we talk about this on the show when artists would do a little something that was kind of slightly left of center from hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling out. They're going to the pop charts or whatever.
Exactly. It harkens back to that conversation we just had about Michael B. Jordan and the needing to take people down a notch in the community if you're doing something.
Real talk. So, the move over to Elektra wasn't an easy one in particular because that record didn't track. It charted, but it didn't do what, the business people expected it to do. So, then we get her first hit. So we on her second Elektra record, we get her first hit, which is "Haven't You Heard?" What do you remember about when you first heard that song, Sir Daniel?
Well, clearly that was like the late. Haven't You Heard was
78, 79, 70, I think it was 79 actually.
So I was about 3 or 4. So I became cognizant of the record like most Gen Xers when it got sampled.
Mm-hmm.
But you hear things on television, you hear things in the mix, and I'm like, okay. Then it didn't really click until like I think Kirk Franklin was the one that really, his sample really took it over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh yeah, that's a Patrice Rushen song.
Oh,
Haven't you heard?
yeah.
And I just always remember that dun, 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 that
Mm-hmm.
part. That's the part that always stuck out to me. I would listen to WCLK in the mornings, and what was that brother's name? He had the morning show on Oh, I can't remember him. He used to work at WAOK as well, but he had the morning show, and that was one of the songs that was in his repertoire, was a lot of Patrice Rushen. And again, at that age, I'm starting to tie everything together. Like, okay, this is where that sound comes from, and this is where that sound comes from. But it's an enormous song. It's an enormous wall of sound. The orchestration is lush. You hear all the violins, all
Mm-hmm.
the horns. Everything is just working in unison for the the greater good of the song. And then you hear Patrice and her vocalization of, we don't know much about her as a singer. We know she's a talented musician as
Mm-hmm.
far as instruments are concerned, but then we get to hear her, and this little, again, a very small woman in stature with a kind of a small voice,
Mm-hmm.
but still but a sweet tone,
Yes.
very sweet. And she always did this thing where the music would kind of calm down as she's singing,
Yes.
so her vocals are the focal point,
Yep.
and you're not distracted by anything. And then when that that chorus
Yep.
comes in, and then it goes back to giving you that heat.
Yeah. That's real. Like, that is, I think, a really important piece of what makes that song work.
Mhm.
A quick note about that song too. So, oh, I want to shout out the songwriters for that. So, lyrics were written by
Mhm.
Patrice Rushen and Cherie Brown. So, shout out to them. Freddie Washington is on bass. Charles Mims Jr. was Patrice's production partner at the time. So I wanted to shout those folks out because they were really kind of like a 4-pack, right? So somebody in the group would have an idea, and then they would go off into their corners and, like, okay, we got to figure out what this is like. And I think that's really important, and I wanted to highlight that because as creatives, it's important to have people around you that can take your thing to the next level. And I think Patrice, coming from the jazz world, is always just kind of used to that, right? You're always having to listen to other musicians and elevate from whatever they're doing, right? And I think that her track record shows that. And the beauty is she could play everything. So it's like, okay, I got to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But Haven't You Heard, I think, is a perfect example of coming up with that. And I love that you pointed out the thing that I love about the song is as her verse delivery is happening, the music comes down to accompany that, and then comes
Mhm.
up during the choruses. And the other thing I love about this song, baby, that joint goes for a minute before you hear any vocal. You get all
Exactly.
instruments for a full minute.
He's like, I'm going to build this orchestra is going to give you this work right now. Like, I have a string section, woodwind, everything. We're paying these people. Oh, you're about to hear them on this record for a good 4 minutes before I start singing. But I love what you said about collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I think any creatives, like you and I, for instance, when we get into our creative space and we start that collaboration and that synergy takes over, it's magical. And as a multi-musicianist that Patrice was, imagine the sessions between Patrice and Prince, because those two, another dynamo. They're probably about the same size and everything,
Right.
but imagine being in on that session, that jam session.
Wow. So I would love to see that. Apparently Prince had such a love for her. So
Mm-hmm.
Prince, I think she's uncredited, but Prince hired Patrice to do arrangements on the For You record. So his first album. He hired Patrice Rushen. He had ideas that he needed to execute, but he needed someone that can execute them, so he hired Patrice Rushen. And apparently he was so smitten with her. This is a rumor. But she said it too. She was like, I think it's a rumor, but apparently the rumor is I Want to Be Your Lover was supposed to be like for Patrice Rushen, which I could totally see. You know,
I can hear that.
Right.
For certain. I can hear it. I can hear it.
So yeah, I would love to have seen what it was like to be in that studio session with her. I'm sure he learned a ton from her because she had years of recording experience on him at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that was like just magical to see. I wonder what it was like. I wonder what it was like.
Because Prince is always smitten by women musicians.
He is.
I mean, just look at his long standing relationship with Sheila E.
Yep. And Wendy and Lisa and all.
And Wendy and Lisa, like all these women that know their way around instruments and composition and everything. Just imagine that probably just set his loins on fire. Just set him crazy. But I'm glad I said it. Did you? So real quick, real sidebar. Did you watch the Apollonia 6?
I didn't. We were supposed to talk about. Oh my God, y'all don't understand. I have supposed to binge watch this.
We're supposed to talk about it.
Binge watch. Oh my God, I didn't.
And the crazy thing is, by the time when we are on our way to Vegas, the part 2 will probably be up. Okay, so you can catch up on both of them.
Cool. But, maybe we could do However Comma together while we're in Vegas. Maybe we could figure it out. We'll figure it out.
We will figure it out. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yes, that just thinking about Patrice and Prince working together, and we're moving on to like one of her next. I think this might be the hit.
Yeah.
And not necessarily what it did on the charts at the time, but a hit song that spawned countless hit songs, because at Q Points, the samples, and we pay homage to samples and samples that are done right, because we feel like when hip hop artists sample, it's paying homage, it's an honor. And Forget Me Nots, J. Ray. Forget Me Nots has been sampled so many times. I think the pinnacle of all the Forget Me Not samples, in my opinion, is the Men in Black. Only because it was attached to such a huge movie.
Yeah.
Blockbuster hit, a huge movie star and rap artist.
Yeah.
So Forget Me Nots, can you imagine what those royalties look like?
Oh, she's still eating off of these. Just God bless her. She's still eating off of them. Forget Me Nots is crazy. And apparently the executives at Elektra was not feeling it when they turned it in. They weren't with it.
That's not new, Jerry. Think of how many hit songs that we have that lawyers, as Prince said, people who know nothing about music have the final say so in art being put out. There's so many songs like that. But you know what part I love most about? Two parts I love about that song. It's always the double clap for me. As a DJ, the double clap is everything. Like you can do so many juggles with that clap part, the intro and everything. I like to bring in Forget Me Nots on that clap, that double clap. And the saxophone solo. I was talking to a musician today, J. Ray. I told her, I said, and her name is Davie, one of Dallas Austin's artists. I told her, I said, Davie, I am charging you with the responsibility of bringing back saxophone solos. Because we need them.
We need them. Like the time in music where we got us a good sax solo, kids. Come on. I live for it. Thank you for charging her with bringing back. You heard it here first. DJ Sir Daniel said, artists, bring back sax solos. I'm with it.
And double claps.
Double claps.
I love a double clap.
That double clap at every black person knows what's about to happen as soon as you hear that. You ready for it. If it doesn't happen, you're probably disappointed. Like, why did they just double clap and it's not Forget Me Nots? So check it out. They turn the song in, the label don't like it. The team is like, so you got Cherie, Patrice, Freddie, and Charles. So the song was built, by the way, on Freddie's bass. So Freddie did the bass, and apparently Patrice was like, that bass though, we're gonna build from it, right? And then so everybody goes to do their thing, right? Make it happen. But anyway, so what they decided to do was buy independent marketing for the song. So they started to push the song as musicians, and they built the buzz for it. Then once it caught fire, the label picked up and continued to push it. But they literally apparently had to push it themselves first because they believed in the song so much that they pushed it themselves until they could prove to the label that this was a hit. Forget Me Nots, which is
Forget Me Nots.
Forget Me Nots, which you hear today, you're like, this is
every
a
barbecue,
right?
Every family reunion, every old school mix show, you're gonna hear Forget Me Nots. But it speaks to the tenacity, and this is something for the aspiring musicians listening right now. It speaks to the tenacity of believing in your art and pushing. A lot, labels and dealing with label brass is not much of a thing. It still happens, but it's not as heavy-handed today as it was back then. But I believe you still need to fight for your art. If you're not fighting for it, did you create something that you really love? Just something that people, for the aspiring musicians to think of. Because we would have been deprived of Forget Me Nots had they not gone about it the way that they did. Another sample monster. First of all, can we talk about really quick, since Mary J. Blige is in the zeitgeist, Mary J. Blige is in the conversation right now. Can we talk about, which version of not Real Love, You Remind Me, do you prefer? Do you prefer that the version closest to Patrice Rushen's, the kind of laid back R&B version, or the hip hop version featuring Greg Nice? I think you all kind of already know which one I prefer.
I prefer. That's such a good question. I actually think I prefer the hip hop version. I do. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, I prefer that version. Every time I think of You Remind Me in my head, I think of the remix.
Absolutely.
Not to say, but I feel like what Mary did, and that's why I think so. The song we're talking about is "Remind Me," which was never a single, but has been sampled by everybody. Because you got that guitar thing happening. It's just a hot ass sample. I think what Mary ended up doing was really, really dope. But yeah, the hip hop version. That's a good question. Hip hop version of that joint.
And to your point about, God, the countless songs that have sampled You Remind Me, Common. I love, you saw our post earlier today about what we were talking about tonight, the Patrice Rushen post that we placed. You listed Tragedy. I completely forgot about Tragedy.
Grand Groove is one of my favorite uses of this song.
That album is still nasty. That Intelligent Hoodlum album, so nasty. But go ahead, continue.
I'm a pull. No, I need to pull that out because I haven't heard it in a while. Shout out to Tragedy Gaddafi as well. Like, Showing You Love on Q Points. Grand Groove. I will never forget just that Grand Groove bust a move with this whole thing under it. Legendary. One of my favorite uses of this.
And speaks to the dichotomy that hip hop lives in, something so pretty,
Mm-hmm.
because the you remind me is a pretty song. It
Mm-hmm.
when I hear it, I think of meadows of flowers and whatnot, right?
Yes.
But then you juxtapose it with the hardness and the edge of hip hop. You
Mm-hmm.
know, these MCs spitting over it and doing what they do, and I'm just like, wow, we can live in both. We can live
Mm-hmm.
in this prettiness, this loveliness that the music is, and still have this artistry with an edge over it. And that's hip hop. So it kind of confuses me when we live in a world, especially those of us who come from the hip hop generation, live in a world where we don't realize that two things could be true at the same time, or
Mm-hmm.
can't or don't have an appreciation for two things being true at the same time, or living it that can live in harmony. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think the music is like, and I just realized I sound so hippy dippy right now and
No,
out
I
there,
live for it. Keep going.
but but it's like, you guys, like, we can totally live in a world where two things can coexist together. Like what De La Soul taught us.
What De La Soul taught us. Yeah,
Definitely. And De La Soul sampled use a Patrice Rushen
they
sample from
did.
Millie's Got a Gun.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just bring that up. It just came to me because tomorrow, by the time you hear this, it will be, whenever you hear this, just know that the next day after this show was recorded, De La Soul's entire catalog was released to all streaming platforms. It's in its entirety, and we still celebrate it. We only regret that Dave is no longer here to enjoy the moment, but now we can definitely enjoy all of their music in
Yes.
streaming. So,
Oh,
um,
one quick
go ahead, Jared.
no, one quick thing I wanted to lift up that you said.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true in Patrice Rushen's music. So in preparation for this show, I was like, well, let me just revisit Patrice Rushen's catalog. One of the things I absolutely love about Patrice Rushen's catalog is the joy in it.
Yep.
It is a lot of songs about upliftment, about joy, about love, and that lives in the DNA of all of those songs. So even when you're listening to Remind Me and Forget Me Nots, there is this beauty in it that makes you like smile when you hear it. And that is consistent when you go through each one of those records. It's like she's trying to take us to a better place with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the arrangements, it's in the lyricism, and that's consistent. So I wanted to bring that up. So the fact that hip hop use it, they understand that no. I don't know who produced Grand Groove for Tragedy. I'm gonna have to look that up. But they understood like this message, because I believe that song was about his grandmother who had recently passed
Mm-hmm.
away. Like needs this song can hold that feeling.
You
Um,
know, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're good.
So this week, I believe is our friend to the show, DJ Artistic, who has these really great Twitter threads and starts these conversations, especially when it relates to DJs, and how he was having a conversation with another DJ who was like, "Wow, guess the older DJs don't are always never play anything new." And Artistic had to tell him that's because people can't really dance or have a good time to a lot of the new stuff. One, not enough people know it. Two, because of what you just said. A lot of the new music does not have a joy feeling in its DNA. It just
Mm,
does not have that joy, that feeling of joy in its DNA. And that's why you can have the original song play and people will dance to it. And then you can have music a few years later that sampled it and you'll still get the same reaction, because coded in the DNA of that song is joy, it's
mhm.
exaltation, it's in the chords. A lot of the music today doesn't even know about chord progression,
Right.
or you know anything like that, those things that tap into people's emotions. I think what the music now kind of um, reflects is people numbing emotions, suppressing their emotions, whereas the music beforehand, the musicians believed in completely laying everything out on the line.
Ooh, that's real. Um, I think this is so in within all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Patrice had a really solid run, and at some point, actually, that's so funny. Her Arista Records moment, she was like, "I'm out." Like her and Clive did not get along,
I
and she
wonder why.
right and you know, and the story as the story goes, and I remember this from her unsung. It was just like, you know, he tried to put the reins on her, like, you have to do this kind of music, you have to do this kind of video, you have to do this. And she's like, I just want to do the stuff that I've been doing. Like, just let me do what I do. And she realized that, no, I want out of this. But the dope part about a person like Patrice Rushen, who can arrange and compose, is that does not stop your career. She figured out, like, oh, wait, I can still make money in the music industry because I have other skills, right? I'm not, I don't just make records. I actually can do other things. And so she evolves from this recording artist
Mm-hmm.
to the musical director for the Grammys. She did that for many years. She um, was the musical director for the NAACP Awards for like 12 years. Like 12 years. Like, she was the musical director for the freaking Janet tour.
Now let's get it. Ooh,
Baby.
can you imagine? You got Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, all of that pedigree right there. And then you've got the Patrice Rushen pedigree. And then people wonder why. People wonder, I don't. Why is Janet Jackson? Why do y'all go up for her? Why? What's so special about Janet Jackson? You just answer. I think we just answered your question right then and there. Patrice Rushen, ladies and gentlemen.
um can we highlight too, you mentioned this earlier, but I want to bring this back because we, you know, brought up Robert Townsend's Partners in Crime.
Mm-hmm.
um how, you know, this black woman is now on television as a musical director, and the visual of that, I remember specifically that being something I recalled. One, Robert Townsend was having a moment. She also did, by the way, she also did Hollywood Shuffle, folks. Hollywood Shuffle is now available in the Criterion Collection. You can buy
Yes.
the Blu-ray of Hollywood Shuffle. I'm actually buying a Blu-ray player because I have ordered Hollywood Shuffle and I only have a DVD player. So I'm getting a Blu-ray player so I can watch Hollywood Shuffle.
You know what my favorite part of Hollywood Shuffle is?
I think I know what you're going to say.
Go ahead, and do the Jerry curl. Go ahead, go ahead.
What is, I think my favorite part is what is it? Oh, you better run, honey, before the police is come. It was this line.
You better run.
Right.
Oh, that was some great cinema.
That
Great
was
cinema.
a Robert Townsend shout out. So he was one of the first people to call Patrice after her recording career, was like, hey, can you score my film? And she's looking around like, yes, I can do that. I have skills for that.
There's nothing I can't do.
Right. That's amazing.
Oh, and the producer of that was K Def.
Was it?
For DJ
Okay.
K Def, yes, that produced the Intelligent Hoodlum, aka Tragedy Gaddafi's Grand Groove.
Wow. That's super dope. Shout out to y'all. We're gonna have to, when we put this up, definitely shout them out. We're following on his IG now. I just added us.
Absolutely. So you know what? At the top of the show, J Ray and I, said that we're deep into Women's History Month, and of course on Q Points, where we drop the needle on Black music history, we are talking specifically about Black women who have made historical passages in this culture. And I don't think it goes without saying that Patrice Rushen is yet another black woman who her presence, I'm certain, to your point earlier about the record labels, about Clive Davis, a lot of what record labels want to do, what their whole thing is packaging and packaging product, and they want their package to look a certain way. Patrice Rushen is very true to a specific look. She
Mm-hmm.
was very true to a specific look that celebrated um, black womanhood, celebrated something that black women are ridiculed or celebrated in the same breath about, and that's their hair.
Yes.
For years, Patrice Rushen rocked the braids with the beads.
Yep.
And J Ray, we saw how when the Williams sisters, Venus and
Mm-hmm.
Serena, how when they came on the scene and they were rocking the braids with the beads, how they were received.
Yep.
And here's the same thing. Here's this black woman that came before them in the music industry was doing the same thing. I think those might sound like very um, minute parts of who she is as a performer. But when you look at the bigger picture and how the fact that today she only has 2,500 or 25,000 followers is the reason, because history books don't want to include or tend to look over people who look a certain way
Mm-hmm.
and who are not afraid to celebrate blackness in the forms that it comes, like
Mm-hmm.
Patrice Rushen and the way she celebrated her hair. And now a lot of black women are able to celebrate that particular look. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, our friend photographer Phyllis Iller,
Mm-hmm.
Melissa Alexander, she's done several portraits where she celebrated that
With the
particular
beads.
hairstyle with the
Mm-hmm.
beads and the beaded bang.
Yes.
That's a whole nother level to it. So
Yes.
that's a lot of, I'm not going to get, on that about, the beads make a noise and the clacking sounds make people remind them
It
of the
do.
ancestors. And the ancestors speak through us every time you hear the clacking of the beads, every time she moves. And I'm not going to do all that to y'all, but, snap your fingers because you know what I'm talking about. You get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, like her, that look, her, and that was purposeful, right?
Yes. Yes.
She went from the afro to the beaded braids. Like it was very specific about the look. She was even rocking the afro because, oh, that was another point I ain't even making the history. She was one of the dancers on Soul Train, right? So she was one of
Mm.
the early, when he moved from Chicago to LA, she was one of those early LA Soul Train dancers. So that's
Wow.
dope because she even talks about in one interview, like it was dope that she didn't say dope, but it was cool that she got a chance to dance on Soul Train and then return as a performing artist, right? So she got a chance to live both sides of it. But that's real specific. When you are a black woman, I'm looking at the Straight from the Heart cover right now, being this black woman celebrating this hair and this beauty. She's got the feathers, she's got the beads. That is definitely, you're absolutely right. The industry which once, the closer you get to whiteness in the music industry, historically has been the way to go. Patrice wasn't aligning herself in that way. Look wise, even music wise, the people that she surrounded herself with. That, I'm sure history does a thing around that. So I'm happy we are here to elevate, you know, her legacy because it's an important one. And the look was part of it.
The look was absolutely a part of it, and to be able to surround when she was coming up, to be able to surround yourself with other musicians,
Mhm.
like-minded individuals, and be in school and
Yes.
have your creativity nurtured was such a game changer, and it really changed a lot of people's lives. We're not musicians per se,
Mhm.
but we grew up with music in schools as well.
Yes.
And it gave us, I'm pretty certain it's affected us positively in both our lives in the way we approach things creatively. Again, the act of collaboration, the willingness to collaborate, the openness. Whereas now that schools don't necessarily have funding for music or have a lot of music programs, I don't know. I just feel like, where is the next Patrice Rushen going to come from? Where is the next, Lionel Richie and
Mhm.
Commodores? Where are the new Commodores coming from?
Right.
All because all of those came out of, school based music
Yeah.
programs.
Yeah, music in schools is so important, y'all. Like, if there is a thing, and it's good for the kids, we
So good.
see what the outcome is. That is such a perfect point. Where will the next Patrice Rushen come from? Multi-instrumentalist, producer, arranger, composer, who went to public school and was able to learn arranging and arrange for her band in high school. Where, without supporting these programs, without having these programs in school, the kids just don't have as much opportunity. They may get it in college, but it's different when you start when we was kids, you know? So yeah, we need music in schools. Um period, and that's something I will absolutely continue to advocate for, because to your point, I don't know in what ways it's made a difference in my life, but I know that it has. I can't.
Absolutely. It has. I really believe that I know what you do
Mhm.
outside of Q points.
Mhm.
And I know that it requires a vessel like you who is able to receive and pour
Mm.
into other people.
Mhm.
And that you get taught that early. It can be honed, it can be nurtured in these programs in schools. And I back again to the earlier topic about Michael B. Jordan and this inability for especially a lot of black men to function that way, because I think they were missing, unless you went to football camp, because
Mm.
that seems to be the only avenue for especially a lot of black men to learn collaboration or to learn brotherhood or to learn how to strategize and to think together and to collaborate and and use their minds. We don't have There's not a lot of people that are able to do that. They're not allowed to explore asking for help, saying, I can't communicate how I'm feeling right now. What do you think? And have somebody else be able to translate for that for them. Again, I'm probably going a little too far in my thinking with this, but I just think that there's a connection between the two. It's got to be. I really do believe that.
I absolutely agree. I wholeheartedly do. We learn these things. We have to learn them as young people. There are lessons, and we talked about this when we did the show with Al Pete. I think that there are lessons that are getting missed, and we learn those things through activities in school, like music in schools. Yes, sports. Yes. But also like music, also like debate team, also like these. There's other avenues. Whatever the science club, whatever the thing is for you, and it's like I'm a science. If you're a science kid, if you're a music kid, whatever, we have to make sure that those things are present for young people, because they need outlets. They need to know what's possible, and they learn what's possible by what's available to them in schools. Um, so yeah, this has been this has been dope.
It
Like,
has. Like, ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason why we're kicking off Women's History Month with Patrice Rushen. Because that figure, that woman, she's a hidden figure because, like, she's unsung. She's not on a pedestal like she should be. But do you see the kind of dialogue that she sparks because of her mastery of what she does? So she definitely deserves this moment. Um, when J Ray and I said, who we want to talk about for Women's History Month, It was a no-brainer. Patrice Rushen. Yep. Let's do it. Let's talk about her.
Man, oh man, oh man. Listen, y'all. So do all the things. Make sure that you, if you're interested in Q Points, that you subscribe. Visit our website at qpoints.com. Click that little subscribe button, and you can support your boys. You know, we got to do things. We flying out to Vegas on our own dimes, right? We need to.
Yeah.
We're a business, right? We want to be doing that through our business, and your support is definitely needed there. Make sure that you follow us on social media at Q Points Pod, and make sure that you follow our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can leave us reviews on Podchaser, Apple, and Spotify. Y'all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as J. Ray said, this has been an excellent episode. I'm so thankful for everybody that tuned in live and that is listening to the replay. But J. Ray, what do I always say? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
My name is J. Ray, y'all.
And this has been Q Points, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go round. J. Ray, cue the ending.
Boom.